Light weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. Week 6, the importance of soul receptivity. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John states, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name." This was a passage Paramhansa Yogananda often quoted to his disciples. "Be in tune," he would tell them. "Delusion can't touch you if you will keep in tune. A few of you will fall," he said once, "but it needn't be if you would stay in tune." Of a disciple who became highly advanced, even though she didn't meditate much, he said, she got there by attunement. To one who found meditation difficult, he said, "I will meditate for you as long as you stay in tune." Truth is a state of consciousness, not a well-worded definition. It is in that consciousness, above all, that our lives are transformed. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, "To those who are ever attached to me and who worship me with love, I impart discernment by means of which they attain me. Out of my love for them, I, the divine within them, set alight in them the radiant lamp of wisdom, thereby dispelling the darkness of their ignorance. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind." Om, Om, Om.
Good morning again, friends. I'm not sure if my mic was on. We have quite a complicated technological feat going on this morning with David at home, and Bluetooth speakers weren't working. So I just wanted to clarify that the first song we listened to this morning was Cloisters, and that was a beautiful rendition of Swami Kriyananda singing in Italian and English. I mistakenly said we were hearing Keep Calling Him. And we'll start now with our Whispers from Eternity reading. Today's reading is number 18. Demand for the pearls of wisdom obtained in the sea of meditation. Divine Father, teach me to dive deep for the pearls of thy wisdom in the ocean of meditation. Teach me to plunge headlong, protected in the diving suit of conscience, that the sharks of passion may not destroy me. If by one or two divings I find not thy wisdom pearls, let me not call the sea of meditation devoid of any pearl of thy wisdom. Teach me rather to find fault with my own diving. Teach me to dive again and again in meditation, deeper and deeper always, until I find thy immortal pearls of wisdom and of joy divine. So beautiful. That's attunement, diving deeper and deeper in meditation, tuning into that essential divine essence that we are part of, that we are made of. Today we're speaking of attunement, soul receptivity. And attunement means to bring into harmony. So when we speak of our attunement to God's consciousness, essentially we're talking about God remembrance, thinking of God at all times in everything that we do. Today's affirmation for self-healing was on work. And it's a beautiful reminder that when we're working, excuse me, when we're meditating, when we're praying, even when we're sleeping, we can attune our mind to the vibration of God, to that holy current that flows through us. And in our path, we are aligning ourselves to this divine wisdom and divine guidance through the personalities of our gurus, who are really beyond personality because they're self-realized masters. But by thinking of Yogananda or Jesus, Babaji, any of our masters, what happens is that we start to align our consciousness with their consciousness. And attunement is really that simple. It's really just keeping our mind ever focused on God. And in addition to the great masters, we can also attune our consciousness or tune in to one of the 8 aspects of God. And our meditation technique, the Hong Sa technique and the Om technique and Kriya, all of these beautiful practices help us to absorb our consciousness in the 8 aspects of light and sound, of love, peace, calmness, wisdom, joy, power. Hong Sa technique itself is a beautiful way for us to tune into the attribute of peace, God's peace, because through the Hong Sa technique, we start to go deeper and deeper into ourselves and into that essence of peace. And Master said that it's the soil of peace where the other qualities, the other aspects of God can reveal themselves. So once we touch that peace, once we go into that really deep quiet and meditation, then these other beautiful attributes and qualities can reveal themselves to us. So today's reading, there's a nice synchronicity, and this happens often. We have Kriya Prep this afternoon at 12:30. We have 6 beautiful devotees from our church who are preparing for Kriya initiation in April. And today's lesson is on the Om technique. I was going to say the Hong Sa technique, the Om technique. And they've all been practicing for quite a bit, so today's a review. But Master said that absorption in the Om sound, the holy vibration of Om, the word of God, is one of the fastest ways for us to lose sense of this physical material world and the physical identity of the body and, you know, all of the little dramas that we get pulled into. So by deep absorption on the Om sound, which is within us, it radiates through the chakras, through the astral spine, through the universe, you know, the planets, the trees, everywhere. You know, we can hear Om sometimes, like just being in nature, but it's much more powerful to tune into the Om sound that's emanating from within our own energy centers, because what happens is that we purify ourselves. It was nice today that we started with purification to talk about soul receptivity in today's talk, because purification is one of the first steps for soul receptivity. By offering all of the things within us that obscure God's natural light, we begin to open ourselves to receiving more of God's divine wisdom and love and light that we can share with others. So in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, 8 limbs of yoga, we talk about dhyana, absorption, in one of the 8 aspects of God as one of the deeper aspects of meditation. So again, through concentration on Om, we begin to go even deeper and deeper into our own meditation. Today's reading starts with the first chapter of the Gospel of St. John. As many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. So again, receiving God, that's what we're talking about, is just removing all the layers that obscure that true divine essential nature that we are. That's who we are. And by practicing the different techniques on this path, we start to strip away all of that. It's really mental static, emotional static, that makes us feel separate from who we truly are, which are sons and daughters of God. The more that we think of God, it's very simple, the more we're able to receive that consciousness. You know, when we yoke ourselves to God, to that reality, then we really start to not only intuit, but experience those divine qualities, those 8 aspects of God. It's interesting for those of you like myself that were raised Catholic, part of receiving the Eucharist, there's a few call and response lines and prayers that you participate in before Holy Communion. And one of the things that I used to say is, Lord, I am not worthy to receive thee. Only say the word and I shall be healed. Now, as a little child, when I heard that, I thought the word was a secret code or a password, that when I was old enough, I would have that secret. But I realize now that the word in the Catholic ceremony is the word of God, is the Om vibration. Only say the word and I shall be healed. Instead, we would say, beloved God, bless me with the ability to hear the word, to hear and perceive the Om vibration within me and flowing through me so that I may be healed. Yogananda said that when we absorb ourselves in the Om vibration, it heals our body. It can heal us physically. In yoga therapy, we use the Om vibration or chanting Om at different body parts for physical healing. But more importantly, the Om vibration heals our consciousness. Again, it helps strip away all of those things that obscure God's light, God's reality, that we are, in essence. We already are the sons of God. We just have to wake up and remember that. And that's really what soul receptivity is. The soul remembering who we truly are and what we're here to accomplish. So when we simply say Om, repeat Om Shanti, Om Guru, Om Jesus, Om Love, Om Peace, any of the 8 aspects of God, we're basically attuning ourselves to that reality. It's that simple. Sometimes attunement can seem really mysterious. I know for me it was at first, but then I realized that that's all it is remembering God, thinking of God, repeating God's name. And we have so many beautiful ways of doing that on this path. We have our beautiful chants. We can just have a chant running through our mind and heart all day. We can simply think of Master or any of the gurus at the spiritual eye during the day. There's just so many simple and easy ways to do that. I say simple because, of course, in theory it's simple, but in practice, the material world just keeps pulling us out of that vibration, of that attunement. But that's our one goal in life, is to keep ourselves ever focused on God, to open up this soul receptivity. There's a beautiful story of a little boy in India. He was 7 years old, but so spiritually advanced, he left his family's home and went to move into the ashram of his guru. And after some time there, the guru said, I'd like you to go home and visit your family. So he sent him home for several weeks. And when the boy returned, the guru said to him, did you see your mother and father? And the little boy said, no, Baba, I only saw you. And then he said, did you see your brothers and sisters? And he said, no, Baba, I only saw you. And then he said very sweetly, well, did you see your playmates? And he said, oh, Baba, please stop teasing me. I only saw you. So it's such a beautiful expression of keeping our mind and thought on the guru or on God in one of the 8 aspects. Because when we do that, it's not that we don't see other people, but what happens is we see God in them. We see the guru in them. When we attune our consciousness to God and guru, we have the ability to always find the most precious quality in each person. We find a way to see God flowing through each and every person we meet in each and every situation. From the Gita, to those who are ever attached to me and who worship me with love, I impart discernment by means of which they attain me. So again, just clinging to God, clinging to the guru. I had an experience this week where I got to practice this. I had to have oral surgery and I was nervous. I thought that I would have some mild sedation, but it turns out when I got there, I was told that no, we would just be using Novocaine. And to be honest, I didn't feel any pain at all, but I was very uncomfortable psychologically and physically. It was very physically difficult. And then again, the mental part of it was really giving me a little bit of feelings of anxiousness. So I visualized Master with the most concentration I could muster. And throughout this 1-hour procedure, I just saw Master's face, his eyes smiling at me. And I just kept saying, thank you, Master. Thank you for being with me. Thank you so much. I love you. And I did this for an hour. It took an hour for this procedure. And as I was driving home, the Novocaine was wearing off and I couldn't open my mouth and my head was throbbing. And I was still thinking of Master and just repeating Om Guru. And he blessed me with this just little bubble of joy. I just felt this incredible joy in my heart. And I started to giggle. It just made me feel giddy. So in spite of this really difficult physical discomfort, just for that little moment, Master allowed me to tap into his consciousness, because his consciousness is joy and bliss all the time. And you know, at the end of Samadhi, he says, a tiny bubble of laughter. And I felt like Master just gave me this little tiny bubble of laughter. And it was such a sweet reminder that with really deep concentration on God or the gurus, that's what happens. We get to tap into what their reality is. And in this path, we talk about, you know, our natural state is divine joy and bliss. But let's face it, you know, we don't really feel that all the time, do we? You know, it's something that we have to strive for, because again, in the material world, we're constantly being pulled out into the delusion of our lives. And we forget that that divine joy and bliss is our essential nature. It's always there. And so again, by just tuning into the masters, we allow that soul receptivity, we allow that openness to stay in that vibration and have these moments of joy or happiness. And when we do, we should cling on to them, you know, really cling on to them and remember them, so that when we're having a time where we're not feeling divine joy or bliss, it's a reminder that we should go right back to our attunement, go right back to our practices. A good friend of mine who, unfortunately, she died very young in a boating accident. She was in her 30s, but she was really into scuba diving. And she would plan these beautiful trips all over the world to dive in these exotic places. She was a Buddhist, and she lived in New York City. And she would also go diving on Long Island. And I remember one weekend in particular where the weather wasn't very good and it was windy and the seas were going to be a little bit stormy, and she was planning on going out for a dive. And I said to her, that doesn't seem very appealing to me. You know, what is it about it that you love it so much that it would draw you in this weather? And she said, well, you know, on the surface, it looks like the winds are blowing and the water's choppy. She said, but once you get under the water and you get through those first cross currents, when you get to the very bottom of the sea, it's totally silent. And she said it reminded her of her own meditation practice. And it really makes sense, doesn't it? Because when we sit to meditate, that's what we're doing. We're diving down through the currents of the mind. We're starting with the restless thoughts and all of the things that are swirling around. And as we go a little bit deeper into meditation, we dive down through the currents of the heart, all of the emotional currents, you know, all of the things that stir up the heart, which prevent us from experiencing God. And then we dive all the way down, 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 down. I mean, really, we're working our way up, but the metaphor is going deep beyond the currents of the mind and the heart, so that we find that deep, deep stillness, that divine current of stillness. And that's when we have those moments of really touching that essential nature, that part of us that is divine, that's always existing, ever new, ever joy, bliss. So, you know, when we think of attunement, it's really a cycle. You know, we meditate twice a day. And during that diving deep, you know, today's Whispers reading for those pearls of wisdom in meditation, those pearls of wisdom are attunement to the masters, to this holy vibration. So we meditate, we dive deep in the morning. And then when we come out of meditation, we can keep that soul receptivity going throughout the day by, again, just practicing a simple Om Guru throughout the day, practicing japa, practicing repeating a chant in our mind, or even just thinking of one of the gurus throughout the day. And then when we sit to meditate again at the end of the day, we're already steeped in that vibration, so we can go deeper quicker. You know, we don't have to get tossed around in the currents. We can kind of dive right in and go for those pearls of wisdom. One other beautiful way to attune ourselves to Master is through, of course, the autobiography of a yogi. And I just want to say that starting next Tuesday, Pasqualina again, who ran the book club all year last year with Jean, we'll be starting a new series, and Shannon and David will be helping facilitate that. And this is the 75th year of the autobiography of a yogi. And Ananda worldwide is making sort of like a reintroduction. There's going to be book clubs all over different meditation centers. So even if you've read the autobiography many times, it's a really beautiful way to tune into Master's vibration. That was a promise he made us, that his vibration is contained in the book and also in Whispers for Eternity. There's an online, I think at Ananda Village now, where you can tune into a daily whispers, or that's just a practice you can do on your own. It doesn't have to be in consecutive order, but read whispers once a day before your meditation or after, and know that that's Master speaking to you. That's Master's holy vibration coming to you. Om, peace, amen.